Chad, how have you been keeping? I'm so excited
Yeah.
for this. I rewatched last week, so I'm happy to be here
Oh, did
live.
you? Oh, fantastic. How did you find it?
Yeah, really good. So informative. I'm not gonna lie, I did not complete the workbook because I went back onto it now. So I have three
Yeah.
tests to do, but I'm actually going to do it after this one. So I'm very excited.
Okay. Yeah, no worries, no worries. Take your time because, like, I mean, eating some sweet corn and beetroot and all that, you got to find time for it as well. And doing the bicarbonate of soda test, yeah, it will take time, so it's all good. But yeah, there's some really good exercises to do. It's quite eye-opening to see what really simple stuff is happening in your guts and triggering you at the stage. Have you found any like triggers for yourself?
Oh, I'd say I just always get bloated anytime I eat, or I just get super fatigued. So yeah. So I'd say there's a lot of triggers, but I'd say once I actually start doing the tests and stuff, I'll be able to figure it a lot more.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, yeah. So, I mean, there's a food diary on the app as well. The app is quite good because you can just log all your foods and then see what symptoms are. And we'll do a proper catch up and talk about it in more detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes it's as simple as not chewing. Remember when we talked about it
Literally. And I
a
actually
few
put that
minutes
on the thing. So from us talking about that back in Bali, I try and shoot 30 times. I say I hit like 20 times. I'm trying to hit the
ago?
30, but like solid 20 times. But yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
better.
Okay. Okay. Does it help?
Yeah, massively when I do it. And then it's like I could forget. And then I come back and I'm like, well, I'm not actually chewing my food. And then I'd say since coming home from traveling, my nutrition has also been so bad. Like I'm definitely not hitting the right nutrients and stuff. And like I'll go for
Yeah.
like if I can make something quick in the fridge instead, I'll do that instead of actually putting time into meals and stuff. So I have a lot to
Yeah,
work
that makes sense.
on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how like how we go on autopilot all the time and forget to
Literally.
actually eat like a normal human being.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, crazy. I think we've got Aaliyah on the call. How are you, Aaliyah?
Hi,
Hiya, how are you doing?
how are you?
Very good, thank you. This is Imelda, a friend of mine who I met traveling. So, and we got talking a while ago about bloating and not chewing properly. So we've just been catching up on that. I've also got my brother on this call, and he also has gut issues, and he may chime in. If he's feeling up to it later. So yeah, gut issues are super common. I'm just gonna wait a little bit. I know that a few people can't make tonight for various reasons, so they're gonna catch up later. So that's all good. I've got some questions. Before we get started, have you guys got any specific questions you want me to address? I think I got your flatulence question, Aaliyah, right?
Yes, just gas. I think was a huge issue. Like when I first started having noticing gut issues, and it's something that just comes and goes, but I haven't really found an answer for.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Have you noticed any particular foods that have caused you an issue at all?
No, I haven't. I
No.
haven't. I'm also just not, like I said last week, I'm really not good at like identifying triggers.
Yeah.
Also, recognize that I have serious lack of discipline and self-control with food, and I'm just like, oh, it's okay, I'll suffer through it. It's fine. Um, So I'm haven't been able to eliminate anything either from my diet.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay.
Because you know what, a lot
Yeah.
like when it comes to a lot of the sort of foods and healthy eating and whatever, it doesn't because I live at home with my family because like who can afford London rent? But so it's family
Mm.
eating, and that's like another issue. And it's like curries and quite rich food, and I can't like give up wheat because I can't like you know what I mean. Like I need to find a way to just live with it, but I can't give it up. So I haven't been able to any of those elimination things that you put on the.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it is tricky. I know, especially like being around family and with like cultural foods as well. I find that it's even harder to say no because it's like dumplings. In my family we're Chinese, and my brother's on this call and he will testify to that. Having dumplings or buns and things like that, some of our favorite foods. It's really hard to say no because you know how good it tastes. But yeah, sometimes it depends on what it is as well, though. And like if it's made from scratch, what's the type of flour? Sometimes it's a case of switching the flour to a source that is easier to digest, like spelt flour, which is still wheat, but it's an ancestral type of wheat flour that might not be as difficult to digest because what we find is actually, I mean, we've been eating bread for thousands of years, right? Since the dawn of civilization, we've been eating bread. So why is it such an issue now and it wasn't an issue before? It's more to do with like the grain and how it's grown now. So like what pesticides have been sprayed on it. And we know from decades of data that in America especially, they spray glyphosate on their grains massively. And that has led to so many problems, like so many neurological issues. We know that it impacts the gut because, like glyphosate, it's a pesticide, so it kills pests and bacteria, right? So imagine on a microscopic scale, if you're constantly eating it on a regular basis over many, many years, how is that going to impact your microbiome? Because you've got bacteria in there. So, because they always say like, organic doesn't make a difference, or like just a little bit of pesticides is fine, but like you're not talking about one instance of eating pesticides. It's an accumulated effect over many, many years of decades of your life. How does that impact your microbiome? So that's why I'm like, I know organic is really expensive, or just like avoiding certain foods that will be really heavily laden with pesticides and herbicides. But it makes a difference. You might not notice it immediately, but on a microscopic level, it will definitely make a difference. But anyway, going on from the tangent, spelt flour can be a good alternative to wheat. So yeah. Okay, so I've got Chloe. I think I've got Elise on here as well. So hello everybody, happy evening, good evening everybody. I hope you're having a good week so far. So today we're going to be doing part 2. Let me know if you can see my screen okay. So I'll just like check the chat box every now and again. If anything goes wrong, do let me know, because when I'm speaking, I tend to not be able to see the chat box as well, or see if it's causing any issues. So hopefully we're all good. Also let me know updates on how you're progressing through the workbooks and the exercises, and also the nutrition protocol. It's okay not to have completed everything, because it takes time to add all of these protocols and recommendations in place. So I don't expect anyone to have it nailed by week 1. So no worries. But yeah, let me know. Did you see sweet corn in your poop this week? Or did you get a fright when your poop turned red when you had beetroot the previous day? One time I did the beetroot test, or even I ate beetroot one time and totally forgot that I did. And then I don't know if you've ever been to the toilet the following day and been like, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna die because it's all red and you think that you're bleeding from your guts.
I'm so happy you just said that's the result, since I didn't do it, because I would have done it and I would have been like, oh my God, what is happening?
yeah. It's hilarious. Any of my mates who have done that, and they always text me to tell me their shock and horror from that issue. But yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna get started. So, just a recap, I'm not going to go into who I am and what I'm about, as you all know me by now. But I just popped in a picture of myself when this was 2017, so what, 7 years ago? Oh my God. Yeah, I was bloating quite a lot. I was bloating after every single meal, and I looked pregnant. It was not nice. I did not want to get pregnant after a meal. And I was really gassy as well. I was I was struggling to digest loads of different foods. Like fatty foods was always an issue. Gluten containing foods, dairy, always an issue. Eggs, I couldn't even have eggs. Like it was causing me a flu-like symptom. So I know that a couple of you've ticked that symptom in your form, feeling fluey and like you've run down after a certain food. That is a symptom of leaky gut, which we're going to go into today. But yeah, I've been there for like years, and from the very beginning I started getting IBS when I was about 21, and this was when I was working in my first job out of uni, and I just before I left uni I had a chronic gum infection. So I ended up having like 2 weeks worth of antibiotics, and yeah, that was a whole ordeal. And then I ended up getting food poisoning for like a week. It was probably the most severe case of food poisoning I had. I remember being on the sofa for ages and ages, and it was extremely painful. I'm pretty sure it was coming out both ends. So yeah, not pleasant. So that really kick-started that whole change in my microbiome from when I was 21 years old. Alongside, I actually started eating quite plant-based back then. I was eating because back then, about over 10 years ago, it was like all the rage to eat raw food. I don't know if any of you remember that. I was like raw cheesecakes and raw pasta or like courgette and just salads all the time and like green smoothies. It was just all the rage. So I was fully believing that that was the thing, and I hadn't trained to be a nutritional therapist by then. But yeah, I thought that was the deal. But anyway, actually eating all of those plants in a raw form caused my digestive issues to be even worse. So alongside the antibiotics, the high stress, and the raw food diet, and eating more plants and animal products and low protein, that really massively impacted my IBS. So, and I'll go into that in more detail. And now I don't bloat. I rarely bloat at all. I think the other day I bloated because I was at home and I ate so much food because my mum made a feast, and that was it. So yeah, there are exceptions, and you're sometimes when you've had IBS before and your microbiome has changed so much, you're always going to get some sort of susceptibility to it. And especially if genetically you are susceptible to it, you might get a few blips here and there. But generally, like problems like acid reflux, bloating, constipation, loose stools, they can be solved. And you might suffer from it every now and again, but not always. So that's where we're trying to get you to. Okay. So trusting your gut. The reason why I said that, to name this program Trust Your Gut is because we're always trying to mask the symptoms with conventional healthcare. Like, why are we just masking it by using laxative? Why are we masking the issue by using Buscopan for the pain? You know, why are we using PPIs to reduce the stomach acid when we don't actually realize that sometimes the issue is deeper than that, and it could be down to an infection or bacterial overgrowth, whatever. You know, so my approach to digestive issues is to listen to your gut, understand why it's happening, and work backwards from there. And that's why I've designed the program like this, to get you guys thinking, identifying what's happening in your life, in your day-to-day, in your routine, in your diet, just so that we can figure it out from the very, very root. Okay. So the gut lining of your small intestine, the lining of your small intestine actually renews every 5 to 7 days. And essentially, in a month, you have a whole new gut. But that's theoretically. Usually you have issues of triggers in terms of food, things like that will impede your progress for healing. So if your digestive system had the chance to heal, making sure that you remove those inflammatory triggers, then of course it can heal and your symptoms can subside. So it just needs a chance. So let's give it the chance. I would love to get you guys throwing in some answers. What have you tried so far? Like, what sort of methods or like supplements or maybe like diets or protocols that you've tried in the past, and have they worked? Have they not? Anyone?
I found the low FODMAP diet helped to an extent.
Mm,
So I can't have like onion and garlic. They're like
mhm,
my, apart from lactose, they're my biggest triggers.
mhm,
Um, when I was trying other stuff with the low FODMAP diet, some stuff was fine. Like, even if it's high FODMAP and I had it, I was like, oh, I'm not actually having like a flare up. And
mm,
other times I was noticing it. But then obviously I've read as well that like the low FODMAP diet isn't great to do long term, and you don't actually see, as many benefits because you're then taking out a lot of the foods that you should be usually putting in your body. So it's worked, but I've kind of like stopped doing it for a while because I want to reintroduce stuff to my body again.
mhm. And when you reintroduce things, how did you feel? Have you felt any difference?
Um, I have like 0.1% garlic on some stuff if it's, I don't know, if we buy like fish and it's got a marinade on it already and it's got like the
Mm,
tiniest bit in, I'll just have it and I seem to be okay. Um,
okay,
onion is like
good.
a no-go that I'm scared to try because I used to really suffer from that. But
Mm,
there was things like on low FODMAP, it says you shouldn't have asparagus, but I've had asparagus and been okay. And it's one of the
mm.
vegetables I really like. So it's like I don't want to follow it completely and then miss out on foods that I actually enjoy.
Yeah. Thanks for that actually, Chloe. That's really interesting. And we'll be going into the low FODMAP diet in a bit more detail. But yeah, the low FODMAP diet, for anyone who doesn't know, it's this it's a diet that the Monash University came up with because FODMAPs, it's an acronym for fructose oligosaccharides, can't remember the whole acronym, but basically sugars that are found in plants that cause your bacteria to ferment them. So your bacteria love to ferment them, and it's in all your plant foods, really. Plant foods, lactose as well, like your dairy products. So any sugars that are in plants, so some fruits, some vegetables, some grains, beans are a massive one as well. Those will all have fermentable sugars because they're high in fiber. So the why they thought to do that was to take out the thing that's causing bacteria to ferment and cause gas production, to reduce that bloating, to reduce that pain if you get pain with your bloating. The flaw in that is obviously, like Chloe said, it's in loads of healthy food. And when you restrict all those foods, number one, it's stressful because it's just hard to remove like loads of healthy vegetables that you are told by other people to include. Number two, it actually starves the bad bacteria and the good bacteria. So actually, in a long-term basis, the low FODMAP diet is actually quite detrimental for IBS. So I definitely don't recommend it for long term. But for short term, it can be really helpful just to relieve your symptoms a bit. But I'll go into this in a bit more detail to show you guys. Anyone else tried anything at all?
For me, I've literally tried to remove. I think pasta and bread is usually like my biggest trigger for bloat and stuff. So I literally tried to go like gluten free, and then I also tried to like just go vegetarian for a while.
Mhm.
But like none of it was actually sustainable. Like I couldn't actually just give up all pasta, or I couldn't just like stick on veg and not eat meat and chicken and stuff. Because
Mm.
that also just ruined my diet was the thing. But yeah, none of it worked though.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I think like gluten free is hard when you don't know the swaps and don't know how to like put the like things like buckwheat pasta in place. If you have never tried it, how do you know if it's even good? Because like some of the gluten free stuff in the supermarket tastes awful. Like bread, gluten free bread is disgusting.
Oh my God, so bad. And the wrap bread is the
Yeah.
worst thing ever. It doesn't even cook properly. Like it's like using plastic.
Yeah, exactly. So I will actually give you some swaps after this, and you guys can give it a go. See, I've got some brands that I really like. Some gluten-free products are quite highly processed, so I like sourdough. I like rye breads because they're less reactive. Sourdough is fermented, so it's easier to digest. Rye bread sometimes not as inflammatory. Spelt bread as well can be okay too. But yeah, I'll give you a few swaps. Okay, right. Conscious of time. I'm not gonna try and. I'm gonna try and get us going. So anyway, just to recap, what we did last week was to go through the whole digestive system, understanding where your pain points are. So like whether you have any issues in the mouth, esophagus for acid reflux, any issues with your stomach acid causing stomach ulcers and the acid reflux, any issues with digesting your foods and breaking it down in the stomach and small intestine. If you feel any bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, any of that, we need to know. So I hope the workbooks have been clear and helpful for you to understand where those issues are originating, because it's really important to map out where it's happening. Right, I'm gonna move that. Oh, wait. A few technical bits and bobs. Right, not the best at Zoom. Let me know if there's any you can't see my screen at all at any point. So what we're doing today, we are taking a closer look at your digestive issues and why they happen and what we're going to do about it. So before I get started, just know that after this program, it will still take time to get you get your gut balance. I always say in functional medicine, it takes about 3 to 6 months of healing per year of illness. So if you've had IBS for like 10 years, it might take us a bit longer than someone who's had it for like 1 year. So just bear in mind and keep being mindful about that, because like don't beat yourself up for feeling unwell still after a couple of months. It might just take some time, a bit more refining with your strategy in order to get it nailed. So yeah, some people suffer from IBS for many years. I had it for years as well, and it only took me until a couple of years ago actually to really resolve it and get it under wraps. So yeah, what we'll be doing is covering these main issues. So feel free to ask questions. I love this to be a interactive process. I'd love for you guys to ask me questions as we go along. No need to save it for the end, and let's have a discussion. And of course, I have uploaded a workbook. So today, actually, I'm going to skip to this page. Today, I've actually uploaded this workbook on the app. So it's basically a diagram which you can download and fill in. So we'll be using this one to start with, or otherwise you can use pen and paper. So has everybody got that ready?
Yeah.
Let me just pop that in the chat box so you can download that as well. Right, okay, here is the chat box. There you go. If you need to download it, there it is. Okay. So, the reason why I'm doing this work, using the workbook like this rather than on the app, is because I'd love for you guys to get really stuck in to understanding where things link into. So like spider diagram, putting your first symptom in the middle, and then as we go on through today, we're going to be identifying your triggers, what your mediators are. So what's like keeping your symptoms there, and also your root causes. So ideally at the very end, we're going to be able to get to the purple boxes and also filling in the action points, foods to avoid, behaviors to change, supplements to consider, any therapeutic foods and things like that. So yeah, let me know if you have all got that. If you could like raise a hand in the chat box or something, and give me indication. Okay. Okay. So And what to do when the digestive system raises alarm bells. This is something that I included last time on the slides, because I always believe that the body doesn't make mistakes. It only reacts to triggers because of mediating factors. That's why I'm teaching you guys using this diagram to identify where your triggers are, what your mediators are, what's keeping it going, and what your antecedents are. Which are your root causes. So once we have those down, then we can come up with a proper strategy, which I will help you solidify in your one-to-one session. Okay. So, so when I say antecedents, that might be underlying factors that really have impacted your symptoms today. So, and it goes deep, it goes really deep, because it can be to do with your genetics. It can even be to do with like a traumatic childhood. If you have felt like if you've had a traumatic childhood where you're not feeling safe, or maybe you're feeling you've had any issues around food, like having eating disorders or anything, or maybe shame around eating, or eating too much, not eating enough, things like that, or maybe even issues like verbal or emotional abuse, things like that can also have an impact on your current state of symptoms. Okay. Mediators, we talked about chewing so much last time, and I always stress this because literally everyone who comes to me, or more or less everybody who comes to me for digestive issues, tends to not really chew their food very well. So that can be a really big factor. Alcohol as well as sugar and things like that. Okay. And triggers, that's what you'll immediately notice that is causing you an issue right now. Okay. So we'll go into this as we go along. As you can see, the triggers cause the symptoms, right? The mediators cause the body system imbalances in your body. So they're the things that you don't really see, but you feel unwell. There are things that are not quite right, and that's what we're trying here to find out, right? And then your antecedents, as I said, it will be your root causes, right? Okay. So let's peel back the layers today. Right, so when you are filling in your investigation board, and feel free to finish this later, you don't have to finish it today. Your symptom 1 goes in the middle, right? And your triggers will go in the orange boxes, and then your mediators will go in the blue boxes. We'll find out your root causes later, and then we'll do the green boxes together later too. So, and you can use a table like this instead if you feel that's easier for you to find out. This is going to be what's in your workbook later on when you access that after the course. So yeah. Firstly, pain is our first stop today. I wanted to get this one out of the way because it is important to understand where the pain is coming. So if anyone suffering from any specific pain in a certain area, because I think in the last workbook, I asked you guys to identify where the pain is as if you were looking in the mirror, right? Anyone like found that they have pain in a specific area at all?
For me, kind of 2 places. So once I'm bloated, it's kind of like my between my chest and my stomach, if that makes sense, and then also my back, like my lower left side. So
okay.
I think something's triggering me in the last like 4 weeks, because that's only a new pain, is the thing.
Lower left back. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. There are various reasons for pain, and I think it's really important to involve your doctor as well.
Yeah.
So anybody you've got on your health journey, because like understanding where that pain is, if it is anything physical that needs attention, then definitely get your doctor involved, get a gastroenterologist just to have a look where that can be. Because it could potentially be a virus, it could be a parasite, it could be if it's on your lower back, maybe it could even be to do with a part of your large intestine, maybe even appendix issues, if that's the right side. No, I think right, if it's your own right, it should be on your right side if it's your appendix. So if it is on the other side, it could be another reason, but for sure, definitely get your doctor involved. Okay. Acid reflux. We've got quite a lot of acid reflux in this group. I think we've got at least 4 people who have acid reflux here. So number 1, identifying our triggers. So acid reflux, if you guys remember, is getting that acid coming back into your esophagus. So you've got stomach acid in your stomach, obviously, and having it come back into your esophagus, which is your throat, causes burning, and it shouldn't be doing that because you're not supposed to get acid in your throat. You have 2 sphincters at the top and bottom of your stomach, and also before you your mouth joins your throat, you also have a sphincter there. So if at any point your sphincters get too lazy and acid comes back up, you get that acid sensation, and it hurts a lot. Give me a hands up if you've suffered from acid reflux.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. I saw your form actually. Yeah. What are your triggers, Chloe?
Do you know, mine seem to be a bit of everything. Like if I have a coffee in the morning, so I have decaf. I moved on to decaf a year or 2 ago. But anytime I'm having like a tea or a coffee, or I'm having my lunch, anything really, I'll like be speaking to people after, and I feel like I'm always taking pauses because I can feel it in like my throat, and like the top of my chest.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Remind me, are you eating really fast at all?
I've slowed down. I've realised I eat really fast.
Okay.
Quite a lot of the time I didn't realise how fast I was eating.
Yeah. So that can be a really massive trigger for acid reflux, because it can be the coffee for sure, because it's quite an acidic drink. But also eating really fast. Like imagine if you're standing on top of a cliff and you've got to drop a massive rock onto the ocean, and it makes a massive splash, right? That splash can come up quite high. And imagine that hitting the bottom of your esophagus, and that feels really painful, right? Especially if you have a lazy sphincter. If you were on the beach and you threw that rock into the sea, it would not hurt. It won't make such a big splash, right? So being gentle with your digestion is super, super key. It is the number 1 reason why people have digestive issues in general. So making sure that you are mindful of that, chewing slowly, making sure that you digest your foods in a calm manner and break it down properly is going to be key, because if the food is in massive chunks and it's in your stomach, there is just no way that your stomach acid is going to do a good enough job to break it down properly, because it needs to turn your food into mush in your stomach, right? If it's not mush by the time it leaves your stomach, then that's going to cause issues, because it just makes all of that gas and stomach acid go round and round, and that can further exacerbate acid reflux. So anyone else found that eating slowly has helped them with the acid reflux? Anyone?
Yeah,
So,
I think
not yet. Okay.
when I have acid reflux, it's actually if it's something really spicy and if I've eaten too much of it. And I think I'm eating too much because I'm eating too quick, and I don't think until like the past week I realized how quick I was eating. And it's really bad actually when you're out, because then you're like in conversation or whatever, and then it's more difficult to be mindful of your chews. Yeah, still got to work on that, but definitely I think if anything too spicy, then I would have the acid reflux.
Yeah.
Mine is definitely stress related. So when I go on holiday, I actually get like not much acid reflux at all. And then when I'm at home, I have acid reflux nearly all day, every day. But when I'm on holiday, I actually eat and drink far more things than I do when I'm at home. I'm not as restrictive because I'm enjoying myself and I feel more calm. But at home, I'll be much more regiment with my food, and I'll only drink water, and I probably eat less, but on holiday I eat more, but I snack less. So I think that definitely, I'm finding a pattern for me that is definitely for me. But I chew my food much, much better now. But I think I eat quite stressed when I'm at home, because I'm not in a relaxed environment. So my children, they trigger me, things around the house trigger me. I've always got something to do. But when I'm on holiday, I can just enjoy a meal and be with my friends and family.
Yeah.
So I've definitely noticed that for me.
Yeah, that's so key, and I think that's really important to recognize stress. When we did the session last week, when you are stressed, you're not in your rest and digest mode, right? You're in fight, flight, or freeze. How because the both two systems, basically it's like an arm wrestle. Which one is going to be more dominant over the other when you are having a meal? If your rest and digest system is like on the low and your fight or flight is up here, of course the fight or flight is going to win the arm wrestle, right? So you need to, like, your key factor here is to de-stress and address those issues where stress is taking over your life. Is there something that we can do when it comes to managing your stress level? So you know what, I'm going to actually change that to, I'll show you here. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Can you see my chart? Yeah. So I'm going to put my symptom 1 as acid reflux here, right? Eating too fast, we have already identified that's an issue. Another trigger is stress, right? So I'd like you to put that in your box if you've got access to this document now, or do it later if you like. Stress, kids, workload. There's always something that's an issue with stress. There's always something that is causing you stress. So identifying what is causing you an issue is really key here. So with your kids, maybe sit them down for dinner first, and then work on your own dinner much like later once they're sorted. That might help give you some time to yourself and time to digest as well. And also work on anything that is really making you feel stressed in that environment. If it's, you've sorted the kids and that you're still feeling stressed, maybe think about that in more detail. Is there anything that is also causing you an issue? Is it like it could be arguments with people, it could be lots of house things to do, so try and figure that one out as well. But we'll go into this in more detail later. Okay, so back to this. So yeah, of course, acidic foods, if you're eating a lot of spicy foods, and of course that makes you eat really fast because you don't want it to stay in your mouth for too long, right? Fatty foods as well, not being able to break down your fatty foods because of poor fat digestion, that is really key too. So if you have that, then we need to obviously address your ability to digest fatty foods. Digesting meat as well. Some people really struggle with meat because the protein is quite tough to break down. So making sure that your stomach acid levels are supported is really key. Tomatoes and some acidic foods are also high in histamine. Histamine can make your lower esophageal sphincter quite lazy, and that can cause acid to come back up. So it's really key to look at your food diary and see what sorts of triggers are actually causing your symptoms, so then we can take those out. So understanding what your triggers are, we need to get rid of them for the time being. We're not saying that you're not going to be able to eat spicy food forever, just making sure that right now you give your body a chance to heal is really important. Okay. So let's look at this in a bit more detail, because if you are not, if you're getting indigestion as well, and if you're getting bloating as well as your acid reflux, there might be an underlying issue here. It might not even be your stomach acid levels. It could potentially be the bacteria overgrowth that is causing your bloating, that's causing an upwards pressure onto your stomach, right? A lot of women who get pregnant, because of that upwards pressure from the baby moving everything upwards, like all your organs upwards, it causes a lot of acid reflux. So same concept. If you're I don't think anyone is pregnant here, but if you have any overgrowth of bacteria with the bloating, then, and that is causing gas to go upwards, that could potentially be a root cause behind your heartburn, right? So understanding whether your stomach is emptying into the small intestine fast enough is also really important. Are you feeling indigested? Are you able to move your food along into your small intestine after 1 to 2 hours? Are you getting really gassy as well? Is the gas causing you any digestive upset? If so, then addressing the gut motility, so making sure that you are going to the toilet at least once a day, is important. And also addressing a bacterial overgrowth is really important, and we'll talk about that. Okay. Symptoms of low and high stomach acid. So we have a lot of acid reflux here, and sometimes it gets misdiagnosed. A lot of cases get diagnosed as high stomach acid, hence why a lot of people get put on PPIs, Gaviscon, antacids, Tums, and it might improve the situation for a short amount of time, but it doesn't always help in the long term, because if you started with low stomach acid and you're being treated for high stomach acid, it could potentially make the issue worse in the long term, because you can see the symptoms are super similar, right? So you get acid reflux, you get indigestion, heartburn with low stomach acid and high stomach acid. You get bloating and gas as well for both of them. So understanding which side, what is your root cause is super key, because you don't want to be making it worse with certain medications. Did anyone do their bicarbonate of soda test? I know, Aaliyah, you did, didn't you? And you came up with actually normal levels of stomach acid, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first day was about 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then after that, it was like 30 seconds, 40 seconds in,
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't think you have any issues with your stomach acid levels. I think what your issue is probably to do with like the bacterial overgrowth, which we're going to address on the next couple of slides. And of course, eating too fast as well. I know at least you have done it in the past when we did a previous webinar, and your acid reflux got triggered, if I remember rightly. So that could potentially be stress driven, and it sounds like that is your main causal factor. So we wouldn't be working on your stomach acid support. We would be making sure that your stomach acid isn't going to cause you an issue by giving you certain supplements to help coat the lining of your stomach, coat the lining of your esophagus, to help you protect yourself from any acid reflux. Okay. So there are common issues with acid issues. Have any of you got like weak nails at all? Any split nails that keep, yeah. I used to get it quite a lot. My nails were really, really thin. But I actually had low stomach acid a few years ago, and I struggled to digest. So when I was bloating all the time, low stomach acid was my root cause, as well as eating too fast. So I had really weak nails. They always split, and they'll break all the time. Turns out I had a B12 deficiency as well, and protein deficiency. So when you have low stomach acid, you end up not being able to absorb your B12 very well, because stomach acid is needed for that mechanism. Also, you need zinc in order to make your stomach acid. So zinc deficiency is often really common with stomach acid imbalances. So it's really important to get your bloods done. I love blood tests. It's my first protocol. Whenever I work with anyone one-to-one, I always say, give me all your blood tests, because I want to know everything. I think bloods give you so much information on how your body is working on an internal level, and you can spot certain signs in your blood test to see whether you have certain deficiencies. And you may not test for B12 or for zinc deficiency, but you might be able to get indications for it through your blood test. And if anyone has any, I'll be happy to have a quick glance when we do your one-to-one test, one-to-one session. And if anyone goes on to do one-to-one sessions with me going forward, you can send me all your tests and I'll look at them. So yeah, Right, low stomach acid. Before you do any of the actions, when we do our one-to-one sessions, I want to double check your symptoms and what your root causes are before you take action. Okay. So because if you have high stomach acid and you're doing the low stomach acid actions, it could potentially cause you more problems. So do double check with me first before you take any of these actions. So if you are finding that your bicarbonate of soda test is not allowing you to burp, then you probably have low stomach acid. It's not a conclusive test, but it can give you an indication that you have low stomach acid. So what I do with my clients with low stomach acid is obviously chew properly and make sure you're eating in a calm manner. But also before your meal, preparing your digestion process is really key. So bitter salads, so rocket, dandelion, watercress, these leaves have lots of are bitter basically, and that stimulates your stomach to help you make stomach acid. So that can be really great 15 minutes before a meal. Digestive bitters are a supplement that you can get on quite widely, and Holland & Barrett, you can get it on Amazon. Digestive bitters contain certain tinctures of gentian root, marshmallow root, some sort of herbs that help to produce stomach acid. So you can get that quite easily. You can also get gentian root tinctures, and that's been studied to help support stomach acid levels. And some people find that apple cider vinegar supplements are really helpful too, and I use that in clinic, but not all the time, so do double check that. But of course, just addressing that is not going to be the be all and end all. Well, it might be, it might help you and get to the bottom of it. But actually, if your gut is working really slowly, or if you have any underlying infections that need to be addressed, that really does need to get sorted first as well. Okay. High stomach acid. I do know we've got a few people with high stomach acid here. If you have been diagnosed with GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disorder. I always forget that because it's GERD is the American acronym. The English one is GORD, so I get really confused there. But yeah, that's when you get that burning sensation, that acid reflux, right? So if you do have any high stomach acid issues that are causing stomach ulcers, gastritis, or Barrett's esophagus, it's really important to ensure that this process, your strategy, is really suited to you. So, of course, again, make sure you chew slowly. Eliminate your triggers. So any spicy foods, coffee, anything that is causing you discomfort, definitely take that out of your diet for the time being so that you can give your stomach a chance to heal. I love using aloe vera. There's a brand of aloe vera from Cytoplan that's a liquid, and you can use that before each meal, and it can really, really help to soothe that pain in your esophagus. I find it really, really helpful. Supplements wise, I love complexes that have some marshmallow root, slippery elm, aloe vera, and licorice root, zinc carnosine, digestive enzymes. Any complex that has that those sorts of ingredients can really help with stomach acid issues. And when we do your one-to-one sessions, I will be recommending specific supplements for each of you. So yeah, something like that would be really helpful. So feel free to add that to your supplements to consider box. Okay. H. pylori. Have any of you, oh yeah, Chloe, I will share that link. Have any of you had a H. pylori test at all?
Yep, I had one done a few months back actually. It was negative.
It was negative. Okay, good.
Mine was
so
too. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Mine was negative too. They did mine on the endoscopy, which they said was negative, and I had the test at the doctor's that they do, which was also negative.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear, because then that's like one less problem to have. So H. pylori, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a bacteria that lives in the stomach, and everybody has it, but at varying degrees. If you have too much of it, it can cause a real issue with your stomach acid levels, and also cause you stomach acids, stomach ulcers even, and gastritis. So it's real pesky little bacteria that loves to live in that acidic environment. Usually most bacteria can't survive in the stomach because it's too acidic, they get killed. But H. pylori has figured out a way of surviving in the stomach, which is really annoying. So they can really, really mess your stomach acid levels up. So it can either give you really low stomach acid, or it can make it go high. So getting rid of it as if it's causing you an infection is key, because if you have it and your acid reflux won't go away, making sure you get antibiotics with your doctor is really important to clear the infection. Now, it is so easy to catch H. pylori. You could get it from sharing a drink with someone else. Like, we all do it. Right, just even with your kids, your partner, or whoever, or your friend, sharing a drink with them. If they have H. pylori, you can actually transfer it to you as well. But you know, it's hard to avoid. But the only reason why you might catch it in the first place is a poor is not having the right immune support or bacterial balance to defend you from H. pylori to start with. Okay, it typically gets infected or increases in levels when you have got low stomach acid, so a easy environment for them to infiltrate, basically. So yeah, definitely check with your doctor. You can go to the doctor and get a urea breath test, stool test, and a blood antibody test, just to double check, because not all the tests, even if it comes back negative, sometimes some tests will come back positive, some will come back negative. So it's really important to get maybe multiple types of tests just to double check. So symptoms would be that pain in your stomach, frequent burping, migraines as well is a common issue that not a lot of people know about. So acid reflux is not going to go away easily, as I said before. Addressing your root cause is going to be 100% key. So addressing any unresolved trauma, making sure that your environment that you're living in is calm is super key.
If I have a hiatus hernia, does that mean that I can't get rid of my acid reflux at all?
No, I don't think so. Because I remember you said, Elise, that your hiatus hernia was only a small hiatus hernia, right? And your doctor said that it's not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was just 2 centimeters.
Yeah, so I don't think that would be an issue. And plus, when you said that you went on holiday, your acid reflux went away, right? So you've already proved to yourself that you can. So I think the hiatus hernia might affect you sometimes, but I don't think it's your root cause. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that I hopeful.
Yeah, I think it's definitely you definitely have hope. Like, I don't think if you went on holiday and you were super chill and you were still guessing it, then we would be thinking of in other directions. But because you were able to go on holiday and not have any acid reflux, that really clearly tells us that you can heal it, right? Okay, so thanks for that question. On your diagrams, feel free to add in your mediators. So that could be slow gastric emptying. So basically, slow movement of the food that's in your stomach to your small intestine. It could be overgrowth of bacteria. So that could be the H. pylori infection, or it could be in your small intestine causing upwards pressure. And then also your root cause is also filling that. Just think about anything that you haven't dealt with, maybe PTSD, maybe usage of omeprazole and PPI inhibitors too much, and see whether that might be causing more acid reflux than it is solving. Okay. Bloating. Who here has bloating? Yep.
Me.
So common. Yep. Imelda as well. Fantastic. Okay. So bloating is so common, and I see this everywhere. There's loads of influencers on Instagram that will post their before and afters with bloating, and to a certain degree, bloating a little bit is absolutely normal. Everybody does. You're not going to have a flat stomach all the time, especially if you've just had a meal. But when it ends up impacting you in a way where it's uncomfortable, or where you look pregnant and it's really distending your belly, or maybe you're just having a lot of gas and you're passing a lot of wind, you know, that those are signs where the bloating is not supposed to be there. So what is bloating? It's when we have too much gas in the small intestine. And where does this gas come from? It's being produced by the bacteria that's in your gut. Now, why is the gut bacteria causing gas production? Because it's fermenting whatever you're eating. Why is it fermenting all the food that you're eating? It's probably because you're not digesting it well to start with. Okay, so I think I have a diagram on that. So here, if you're not chewing well and you're rushing your food and it's going down to your stomach really fast, and then when it finally reaches your intestine, so this is the intestinal wall on a microscopic level, right? So imagine, I don't have a picture of the intestines. Imagine you had chunks of food that you haven't properly digested, and you know, it's reached your small intestine. Has anyone done a poo and found food in their poo that's been undigested?
No, I don't think so.
No?
Sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. Often that is because we haven't chewed properly or not digested it properly. When you guys have done the sweet corn test, you might find that sweet corn remains quite easily. So if you have not chewed your food properly and the particles of food are unrecognizable to your gut lining, your small intestine, then it can't really get absorbed properly. So when it doesn't get absorbed properly, all the bacteria in your guts, they will go and ferment it instead. So they ferment everything, particularly any FODMAPs. So when we were talking about garlic and onions, because they're really high in FODMAPs, it helps your bacteria. They have a party. They go and ferment everything and cause lots of gas production. Oops, skipping ahead. They cause a lot of gas production, right? So that then leads to this issue of bloating. You're getting too much gas. So really, we need to work backwards and find out why we're not chewing properly. Make sure we are. Remove the inflammatory foods. So if it's wheat or dairy, that's your issue, then take that out of the diet for a while. Making sure that you're digesting your proteins very well with maybe digestive support, with the digestive bitters I recommended earlier, or maybe digestive enzymes that will help to improve your breakdown of foods. So then we reduce what the bacteria can ferment, and that will reduce the bloating. Does that all make sense? Yeah. So all these solutions on the internet to reduce bloating, if they're not reaching this root cause, then they're not going to work for you long term. If you are taking probiotics to help your bloating and you have this issue, probiotics are just going to make the issue worse, because if you have a lot of bacteria at the moment and you're adding more bacteria to the mix, you're just going to create more bloating. It's not going to be solving the issue. Okay. If you guys pass gas or your bowels, does your bloating reduce? Has anyone found that their bloating does reduce, or does it just remain?
No, Mom, would probably just remain.
It remains, okay. Aaliyah?
Yeah, no, it decreases for me.
Okay, it decreases. That's good. That's really good. So ensuring that you can get rid of it is really important. Sometimes when it doesn't improve your bloating, it could potentially be that the gas that you've got is in your small intestine. So your intestines are really long. They're like, if you spread them all out it would span the mass of a tennis court. The surface area is that large. So if the gas and the overgrowth is in your small intestine, not in the large intestine, then you might struggle to pass that gas out. Okay. So addressing that root cause of SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, is really key. Okay.
Is there a
Slide.
test you can get to check if you've got that bacterial overgrowth, or is it it's going to be like a stool test or?
100%, yeah. I'm actually going to show you some of my stool tests actually, which I will show you now. Oh, where is it? On my screen, right. Can you see my stool test here? On screen?
Yeah.
Does anybody see this chart? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
fab. So I had these tests. I've been testing my stool for years, and because I think it's really important to understand the microbiome and understanding what sorts of bacteria are in your gut. So this is the very first one I did, and it was a quite basic one. Now this isn't available on the NHS. It's this is private, right? But it helps because it shows me how well I'm firstly digesting my food. So here it showed me that I had some meat fibers in my stool, and I had some vegetable fibers in my stool. So that means that back then I wasn't chewing my food very well. So because you could find food in my stool. Also my fat digestion back then was fine. But also looking at my bacterial balance, I barely had any lactobacillus come up. So that's a really common strain of bacteria that lives in your guts. I barely had any come up. So it showed that I was very depleted, and they're the ones that should really keep everybody in check. All your bacteria, because you have trillions and trillions of bacteria in your gut, right? And you have the main species will be lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. If I had plenty of bifido. So actually, when I found that I took probiotics with lots of bifido in it, my symptoms would worsen. But if I just took probiotics with lactobacillus in it, I had better symptoms. So my point being is that testing can be really, really powerful because it tells you exactly what types of bacteria you're missing and what ones you have too much of, so that we can be very targeted at how we tackle your bloating. So yeah, this is the very first test that I did. I did one in 2020 as well, and you could see that I had some bacteria that weren't even present at all. Again here, lactobacillus, 2 years on from the previous one, I still had very low levels of lactobacillus. It wasn't very good. Yeah, so having this information is really important. I did one in 2022 before I went traveling as well, and my bacteria profile got really good. So a lot of it was in the green, so which is quite good because I wasn't feeling many symptoms at all. So yeah, it was good, but I was still wanting to see what difference it would make after coming back from traveling, which I haven't done yet. So I will keep you guys posted if I do another stool test. Anyway, so that's gut testing. And if you are interested in doing more testing later on, and if we don't solve your digestive issues with the tools that we're going to be talking about today, then stool testing is a really good way to do some more investigation. Okay. So yeah, these are really common issues. If I had £1 for everybody who told me that they had bloating issues because of bacterial overgrowth, I'd be a rich woman. And that can lead to various issues like constipation, diarrhea. It can cause leaky gut as well. Has anyone heard of leaky gut? No. So
I've
leaky
heard of
gut
it.
is,
I just don't know
I've heard
what
of
it is.
Right. So leaky gut is an informal name. The actual name is intestinal hyperpermeability. So in your imagine this is like the lining of your gut wall, so your small intestine, and this is your bloodstream. So if food is here, it's got to pass through this lining to get to your bloodstream, right? So, and usually the villi of your gut your gut wall should look like this, nice and tight. And the reason being is so that your surface area is maximized, so you can absorb as many nutrients as possible, but also keep out the bacteria, keep out all the undigested food, because you don't want to put undigested food or bacteria into your bloodstream, right? Because that would cause issues with with inflammation. The problem is if we constantly have undigested food, too much bacteria in your gut lining, in your digestive system and your small intestine, that causes inflammation, and that can cause leakiness of your gut. So then more of the undigested food, debris, bacteria can actually get to your bloodstream, and that causes issues like leaky gut. And that's when you might start to find that you get a bit of flu-like symptoms from your food. So Imelda, you tick that you get a flu-like symptom when you're eating certain foods, I think.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I just get run down and stuff.
Yeah. So I reckon you probably have some leaky gut. So you definitely need to remove those triggers and just give your gut a bit of a break. People do things like food sensitivity testing, and sometimes it can be really helpful just to identify what things are causing you a lot of inflammation. But often it can be the foods that you're eating quite often. So I personally prefer a stool test as a better value for money type of test. But if you want to, the food sensitivity test can also help for you to identify what to take out to reduce inflammation.
Amazing.
So,
do I have to, can I do that myself, or do I actually have to go to a doctor to get a food sensitivity test?
no, you can order it with York test. You might have seen that. Yeah, you can just order that on the internet. It's a finger prick test. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people that say that there's no validity to the test. I think there is validity, but I also think that a lot of your foods that you constantly eat, like if you're eating a lot of bread, that's probably going to come up. So I think it's a good tool, but your money could be put to something a bit more useful like the stool test. Because if you are getting those symptoms, I'd probably put my money on the fact that you probably have this issue. So yeah. Okay, so that can cause other issues like skin problems, which we'll go into next week when we look into issues beyond the gut. So skin problems, any acne, pimples on your forehead. Has anyone got pimples on their forehead? Or used to? I used to get it a lot actually, and when I healed my gut, it all went away. So yeah. Immune system problems, if you get ill quite often, that can be a problem. If you get any joint pain, any achiness in your joints, that can be linked to this as well. So yeah, good thing to check. Right, I think we need to speed up. So yeah, my point is, in order to solve this bloating, we need to address this. So chewing and your digestive system strength. So making sure that you can digest your foods well, making sure that your microbiome is balanced, and getting rid of any overgrowth. Okay. So if anyone is using probiotics and it's not helping, then make sure that you go back to the drawing board and look at this protocol instead. Okay. Just a quick one on why we're encouraged to eat plants. Eating a westernized diet is really bad for your gut because it has a lot of toxic chemicals in. So I'm thinking a lot of sugar, a lot of additives and preservatives that impact your gut microbiome. It makes it hard to break down and hard to absorb with the fats as well. So that really does change your gut microbiome. And this is the sort of gut that you would get if you had a Western diet. If you had a healthy diet, like a Mediterranean diet with lots of fruits and veg, healthy fats, eggs, fish, and all of that, then you'd have a much more healthier gut, according to this piece of research. Okay, so I won't go into too much detail, but the main message is we want a very nice, diverse digestive system full of good bacteria, and the way we do that is making sure that we have a good diet full of plenty of this stuff. Okay. And actually, low FODMAP diet, because we were talking about it before, I wanted to show you this diagram because this is a really lovely diagram I love, and it shows you the different types of diets that you can go on and how that impacts your gut microbiome. So just to show you, this bit is your gut lining. This bit is your bloodstream, and that's the bit that's in between your bloodstream and your gut lining. Okay, so the colored bits are your bacteria. And you can see that different types of diets will impact your gut in certain ways. So if you were on the low FODMAP diet here, because you're taking all of those healthy vegetables and legumes out of your diet, your bacterial balance actually reduces and your abundance reduces. So the types of bacteria that you're going to get are just going to reduce and get less diverse, basically. Okay. The best diet would be the Mediterranean one, where you've got, I think that's Mediterranean. Yeah, Mediterranean, you've got plenty of good bacteria here. The red ones you don't really want. So a Mediterranean diet has been shown time and time again to be really, really great for your.
Do you think though that in the Mediterranean, the food, the produce is much better?
Well, for the
would mean
digestive. Sorry?
Would you not say that in the Mediterranean, though, the produce of food is much better and that's why they're much more healthier? Here in England, the food is made so poorly, the produce is not great. So what we have is got pesticides in, everything's, not great. And when you go abroad, everything seems much fresher and more appealing and more colourful, and the food seems much better for you. So if we followed a Mediterranean diet here, would we still get the same benefits because we've not got the same produce?
I hope so. Well, it really depends on where you get your food. That is a really, really that's a really great point. If anyone has gone to Europe and stayed a couple of weeks to see how that diet affects your gut, you'll notice a difference. So I think that was Elise, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that, because if you were to eat it, like have an Italian diet, for example, I guarantee that you'll feel a lot better. But even if you're in this country and you're trying to replicate a Mediterranean diet, you can eat like that. It just depends on where you're getting your food. So if you were to shop in your supermarket, you can always go for like the organic produce, or if you can't get the organic produce, you can use things like bicarbonate of soda or veggie wash to wash those pesticides off. You can include more extra virgin olive oil, maybe more fish, maybe some organic eggs as well. That can really, really help. So it's not impossible to achieve that sort of diet.
So you'd go organic meat and veg, and would you go organic oil as well?
Yeah, I use organic extra virgin olive oil. I use grass-fed butter that's organic as well if I can. Ghee, organic ghee. So if fats wise, I always find it's really helpful to get good quality fat that's organic, because if you think about it, toxins get stored in fats. So if you're using any animal-based fats like butter, if the animal has been feeding on pesticide-laden food, then any toxins can get stored in their fat cells, and that's what you're using to cook your food in. So I mean, you can get deeper and deeper and deeper into the food system and learn that everything is mess, but sometimes you can't help it, and you can just do the best you can for yourself and your family at the time being. But yeah, I think with fats and cooking oils, I think it's important. Fruits and vegetables, yes, if you can get access, but it is not always that easy to get access in this country. So feel free to use like veggie washes and bicarbonate of soda to clean them. Meats, ideally, if you can, for sure, because meat has an inflammatory more of an inflammatory profile if you get factory farmed meat, because say for example the chickens are in barns, they don't really roam as well, they get like a lot of fat tissue. The example I like to use when it comes to organic meat is that if we were all cannibals and we had to eat a person that was athletic and super healthy versus someone who was obese and quite inflammatory and had lots of health issues, who would you choose? You'd eat the athlete, right? And the same concept applies to animals. If you were eating chickens that were raised in a barn, don't have anywhere to move, eating corn and grains that they're not supposed to eat in the first place, they're going to have a very inflammatory meat and fat profile. So I think choosing organic is helpful, but I do understand that it's bloody expensive at the moment and not everybody can afford it. So yeah, we can only do what we can. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Yeah.
helpful, but just to add, someone told me, because I lived in Greece for 2 months last year, and I noticed my symptoms were worse when I came back because of how
Oh,
fresh
okay.
the food is in like the Mediterranean compared to here. But
Yeah.
someone told me that I should start eating halal meat because it's
Oh.
like, you know, the way the I don't know, the way that animals are treated before or something, it's not so, they're not pumped with so much, or they're not you know, they're not all crammed and getting like the fatty, getting all like, you know, whatever it is. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful, but someone told me to try. I haven't actually tried it yet, but someone said
Mm.
halal meats might be better than just buying like random meat from Tesco or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know actually. I've not seen any enough studies on it or had enough clients on a halal diet. So I'd be really interested to know whether that is the case because if they do treat their animals better and not and feed them on a proper diet, that might be a good cheap way of getting better quality meat than getting the supermarket stuff. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear if anyone tries it in the end.
I'll probably try it with my chicken and then I'll let you guys know.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know. I do have had halal chicken before. Like I bought it from the supermarket and cooked it, and it does taste fresher. But I don't know. I haven't really bought enough halal meat to really know. But yeah, let me know how you feel. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting with the different types of diet and how it impacts your gut. So resolving SIBO. So making sure that we address this issue is really important. So this is my 5R protocol. And the reason why I say probiotics are not always going to help you is because you have to take a very strategic approach to healing SIBO and SIFO. So small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or small intestinal fungal overgrowth. So you can get too much bacteria, you can get too much fungal overgrowth. So has anyone had thrush before? Any ladies with thrush in the vagina or maybe in your mouth at all? Anybody? I used to get thrush a lot in my 20s, and it's super unpleasant. Thrush is caused by a yeast called Candida, and Candida doesn't just live in the vagina. It actually lives all over your body. It can be on your skin, it can be in your mouth, it can be in your gut, and it can cause so many issues, including bloating, constipation, diarrhea, food sensitivities. It can give you skin issues. I had a client one time who had he was an extreme sportsman and he had the worst fungal overgrowth on his skin. It was really scaly. So you can get it all over your body. And you can even get it in your scalp as dandruff as well. So lots of things to think about when we're looking at fungal overgrowth. So if you do have that, there might be coexisting symptoms. So the 5R protocol is what I use with my clients to get rid of bacterial overgrowth. So I'll go through it one by one. Firstly, that one shouldn't be in blue. Just the top two, remove and replace. These are your first steps when we're tackling a bacterial overgrowth. We need to identify, firstly, if it's fungal or bacterial, because if you were to use, for example, an antimicrobial or antibiotic to target bacterial, it might not even hit scope. It might not even do anything if it was a fungal infection. So understanding whether it's that one or that one is really key for your strategy to get to be done right, basically. And how you can identify, I always recommend doing some SIBO breath tests. You can do that with the NHS. A comprehensive stool analysis, you might be able to do that with the NHS, and they can test for like bacterial overgrowth, any nasties, any candida, but they can't really do the full comprehensive profile that I showed you before, like having all of the different strains. So that's important to check. Making sure that you remove those inflammatory foods. So if it's sugar, if you bloat after eating sugar or refined carbohydrates, maybe even fruit, if that's a trigger, you need to take that out. Not forever, just for the time being, so that you can reduce your symptoms. Gluten and dairy, these two are very, very common culprits for digestive issues. So that's why I always say take it out of your diet for a couple of weeks, see how you feel, and when you reintroduce it, see if your symptoms are okay. If not, you might need a bit more time off of it. Ultra processed foods, of course, we all know how bad junk food affects us, so taking those out of our diet is really important. I also find that seed oils like sunflower seed oils and rapeseed oils can make a massive difference if you take it out of your diet, because it's in basically everything. It's in, like, I found that it's in a lot of the healthy shop bought soups as well. I think it was Deliciously Ella or something, and that's supposed to be a healthy brand, and she uses rapeseed oil in her soups. So always check the labels when you're looking at ready meals. Repairing is the next stage. So once we've taken out those inflammatory triggers and supported your gut with the right digestive support, so making sure that you're digesting properly, you're chewing properly, you've got some digestive enzymes perhaps, then you start doing the repair action. So making sure that you support the gut with plenty of good fiber. Any mucilage producing foods, so that could be like marshmallow roots. It could be aloe vera as well. Polyphenols in berries and green tea helps to proliferate good bacteria. Making sure you're chewing properly, of course. L-glutamine is really good for helping the gut lining heal. So I find that those combination of nutrients is really good. Digestive enzymes I find really helpful. So if you have bloating, and that's been an issue for a long time, I would say take some digestive enzymes, maybe one before each meal, and see if that helps. Generally, I find that digestive enzymes are one of the supplements that help the most with my clients. So I definitely want to try. PHGG I find is a really good fiber. So it's partially hydrolyzed guar gum. You can get it on Amazon quite easily, and you can just take 1 teaspoon a day in hot water. It tends to really help you form healthy stools, and also help you reduce your bloating as well. Okay. Next up is the repopulate actions. So this is the 4th stage. So I would never do probiotics at the beginning. I always do it at the 4th stage. That's why when some people have probiotics, their symptoms worsen. If anyone's tried Simprove, I think I mentioned this last time, I have a client who ended up in A&E because of Simprove. So it's not always helpful to have probiotics at the very first stage, because adding more fuel to the flames is just going to be conducive to your progress. Okay, so at this stage, once we have gotten rid of the overgrowth, repopulating with good bacteria is really key. And bearing in mind that the remove stage might take you a little while. It may not be as straightforward as going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It might take you a couple of rounds to get rid of the overgrowth of bacteria, especially if it's an overgrowth that's been there for a long time. Okay. So at this stage, then you go in with the fermented foods, probiotics, and finding out exactly what bacteria you are lacking can be really fundamental for your gut health journey. Of course, using plenty of plants, polyphenol-rich foods as well. Certain plants might exacerbate your symptoms. So depending on if you have any certain bacteria, if beans are a particular issue for you, you might have to take those out. If like leafy greens like kale and spinach are an issue for you, then you might have to take that out. But bearing in mind, let's look at your triggers before we do that. And retaining, so at the very end of it, helping you retain your gut health is really important. So if you guys got any ideas on how we maintain that gut health, your gut health status at the very end?
keeping to habits, good habits.
Yeah. Sticking to those stress relieving practices. So making sure that you have, I don't know, what's your favorite TV show, or being able to unwind day to day, making sure that you can get your rest and digest system in place. Making sure that you can chew and eat well in a safe environment, a calm environment is really important. Making sure that sugar is not too prevalent in your diet. So sugar, bacteria loves sugar. So when you remove sugar from your diet, bacteria can starve. So that's really important. Has anyone got a sugar addiction here? Or just loves sugar?
I'd definitely say I don't have an addiction, but I crave it. So after every meal, I'm searching for it. I'm looking for that. It also is a stress reliever for me. So when I get really, really, really stressed, the first thing I'll look for is something sweet, because it just sort of alleviates that sort of stress for that. But I think that maybe sugar is probably my prime problem, is because I don't eat lots. I don't sit there with lots of bags of sweets. It could be like what I think is a healthy cereal bar or a protein bar. But again, they're full of rubbish. So every day I'm trying not to eat anything that I can't seem to do a whole day without having something.
And that might even be the bacteria that's driving your sugar craving. I have a webinar on sugar cravings that I did last summer, and it's all about the mechanisms of why we crave sugar. And of course, sugar gives us a dopamine spike. So dopamine is your pleasure neurotransmitter, because that means you can get energy, right? And we're hardwired to do that. But also, another massive issue when we have sugar cravings, it could be the bacteria or the fungal overgrowth, like the yeast. They love sugar. They might be sending your brain signals to go and find more sugar, and that might be one of the root causes. It could also be because you're not eating enough protein, or not being satisfied enough with your main meal, and then therefore seeking more fuel. So yeah, understanding why you're craving sugar after a meal is really important.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yes, doing all of that, having a healthy lifestyle and diet helps you keep your microbiome in check. I know for a fact, if I start eating a lot of processed meals or going out to eat all the time, then my gut does not like me after a while. So I have to stay on top of it. Getting gassy. So we didn't touch on this before, but flatulence. Does anyone get gassy? I don't know if you guys feel like that's too TMI to share. I never find it as TMI because I talk about poo and farting every single day, and it's totally normal to me. So yeah, let me know if you do get really gassy. So when someone has a lot of gas, I always ask the question, how often are you passing wind? Is it a lot of wind, or is it just occasional? Does it stink? Is it odorless? Because that tells us the health of your gut microbiome. So what if there are some types of bacteria that create a lot of sulfur gas? Some of them create a lot of methane. So understanding what types of bacteria with a stool test here again is really helpful, because if they are bacteria that makes a lot of sulfur, you'll get very eggy farts. So clearing those sulfur creating bacteria is going to be really important to get rid of this symptom. If it's odorless, it could potentially be the methane producing bacteria. And if you have constipation, methane producing bacteria slows down your gut massively, and that can be a root cause behind your constipation. Have you noticed that garlic or onions and beans causes excess gassiness? Is that something that you might need to take out of your diet for a short amount of time? So yeah, the approach to getting rid of excess gas is the same as SIBO. So I always remove the inflammatory triggers, so such as those foods that we're talking about. Remove the bacteria that might be causing your excess gas, replacing with the right foods, supporting your digestion process, repairing your guts, making sure that your gut is able to form a stool properly without creating too much gas, and then repopulate them with some good bacteria so that they can get rid of, because your good bacteria defends you against bad bacteria. So making sure that your bacteria can defend you is really key. And of course, retaining. So same principles over and over. How are your diagrams going? I know that we're running over a bit of time. Are you guys okay for another 10 minutes?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Lovely, fantastic. So I really want to get into the next bit because it will be about constipation. Have you guys been filling in the diagram, or are you going to do that afterwards when you've got a bit more time?
I've been doing it as I go.
Okay, cool. Amazing. Okay. Okay. So just to give you guys a few prompts with bloating, your triggers, you know what your own triggers are or should do. Understanding your mediators. So maybe it's sugar that's making you more bloated. Maybe it's constipation and everything being backed up for too long, and that's causing more gas production and bloating. Maybe it's even the bacterial overgrowth. So that will be your mediator. Okay. Usually a lot of these things come in hand in hand. And then looking at your root causes, what is your root cause behind the constipation? Is it an overgrowth of methane producing bacteria? Is it stress? Because if stress is keeping you all backed up and causing you really slow motility, then that might be your root cause and you need to get rid of that. Antibiotics is an issue, can really mess up your microbiome. Alcohol as well, because alcohol is essentially like an antiseptic. So if you were to like spray alcohol all over your table right now and then wipe it down, you're killing bacteria. Same thing happens in your gut if you're drinking a lot of alcohol. Okay. Right. Next stage. So constipation. Who's got constipation here? And that's not passing a stool every day.
Mine's sometimes, as in like not all the time. It goes up and down.
Okay. So remind me, I think Chloe, I checked your form actually, and you get is it that you get sometimes type 7 and sometimes the other types as well?
Yeah, mine varies from, sometimes it'll be like 4, 3, other times it goes to 1, other times it goes 6 and 7. If I've eaten something that triggers me straight away, I go straight. It's weird. I kind of get probably like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 all in one sitting.
Right, okay.
So it's really weird. It's almost like it sounds gross, but it's almost like I'm a bit backed up and then something triggers it. And
yeah, that sounds about right. It does sound like you're a bit backed up. So like your the oldest stool will come out a bit like type 3, and then you like the earliest stool, maybe like what you ate that day will come out like type 7 because it hasn't had a chance to form a stool.
I'm
So
definitely the same actually. I definitely can tick a few of those and on one sitting as well. Like literally, it will start off one, or I'll go.
Yeah. I think I lost you. I think I just lost you, Elise. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. So you'll go and then you pass all different types of stools as well.
Yeah, literally the same.
Okay. Yeah, so that basically tells me that you're probably inflamed. So something has triggered you, and I reckon because basically most of your immune system is based in your gut as well. So when you have a trigger, anything in your environment, anything that you've eaten, or maybe even having like a stressful situation. I don't know if any of you've had like a really like an event that's happened and that's really like caused you a lot of anxiety, and then you feel like you need to go to the toilet. I definitely have. That basically can trigger your bowels to go very quickly. So for various reasons, we have to find out what your trigger is and reduce that inflammation. So yeah. also ensuring that you've got plenty of fiber to help you form a healthy store is super key as well. So constipation, huge reason for that is dehydration. I think it goes without saying, making sure that you're hydrated is really key for helping you form a stool. Also for diarrhea, dehydration can be a problem as well. If you've got any loose stools, not having enough water to help you balance your electrolytes is really important. So making sure you're drinking plenty. Poor digestion, as we've spoken about. Stress, we've spoken about. Overgrowth of bacteria, methane producing bacteria is particularly problematic for constipation. Poor liver detoxification. So before we even look at the gut, your liver is the organ that basically helps you detoxify any toxins that you make or that you're ingesting, any pesticides, any pollutants in your environment, any mold toxins, any heavy metals in your food, any used up hormones that you need to get rid of. It all has to go through your liver. So those of you who go to the toilet as soon as you wake up, big tick, gold star, because that means your liver is actually working really well. And if you're not passing your stool until later on in the day, it could potentially mean that your liver is just not working as fast as it should be, and therefore making sure that your liver is working well is key. And Leah, you had a question?
Yeah, just while you're on the topic of the liver, what's your view on castor oil packs? Because there's a lot of that going around at the moment for helping. I don't know what the correct phrasing is, but something to do with the liver and ensuring it's functioning properly. I mean, I know people are using it for a lot of different stuff. Like they have ones for the thyroid, and apparently you can put it wherever. But the one I saw was talking specifically about liver.
Yeah, castor oil is fantastic. I actually don't think I don't use it for liver support really. I use it for hormone support. So oils, a lot of us are very omega-3 leaning. I mean omega-6 leaning even. Do you guys know very much about omega-3 and 6? So you might have heard fish oils and supplementing with omega-3s. So fish oils tend to have more omega-3, and Western diets full of deep fried foods and lots of meat tends to be more omega-6 driven. So omega-6 is very inflammatory and omega-3 is very anti-inflammatory. So having castor oil is a form of helping you improve your omega-3 balance, and that can reduce inflammation. So it's really helpful when we're looking at hormone problems, because hormones are a combination of fats, basically. So you make your hormones out of fat. So making sure that you can process your fats and inflammation in the right way is really important. So that's why we use castor oil packs. But yeah, for various reasons. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Other reasons for constipation, hypermobility. If anyone's hypermobile, that can mean that the muscles around your gut just are a bit lazy and just too I don't know what the right word to say is, but floppy is the word that's coming into my head. So if your muscles are just not working, constricting well enough, and you're too very flexible and mobile, then that can mean that you are more prone to constipation. Massages are amazing for helping your gut moving, because we're pushing the lymph and toxins out of your cells and into your lymphatic drainage system. Especially lymphatic drainage massages, they're so good. Okay, so for those of you with constipation, I would recommend using this massaging on your belly. So I don't know if you can see my belly, but helping you massage from one end to the other would be helpful. So from the right, this is my right, I think it's mirrored, pushing that up like this, and then all the way around. Because if you can follow that diagram here, pushing it down to the end of my large intestine, that can really help to improve constipation. So if you do suffer from that, trying to do do a massage on yourself for about half an hour that evening. If you are struggling, then that can really help move your bowels. But yeah, or maybe ask a partner to do it for you. Okay, so next. So first protocol, of course, drinking lots of my brain's going all over the place now. Lots of money. I mean, lots of water. Drinking lots of water. Addressing your stress levels. All of my clients with constipation have some sort of unresolved stressor. So wherever that is, whether it's being anxiety with getting into the office. I have a client who cannot poop when she's going into the office, but she can poop totally fine when she's at home. If anyone has fear of pooping in an office or a public space, please let me know. So addressing that trigger is really important. Removing your trigger foods and also ensuring that you're moving, because that movement massages your gut, ensuring plenty of fiber again. And you can also use PHGG in this sense, the partially hydrolyzed guar gum fiber that you can get on Amazon. Apple pectin is quite good, and psyllium husk I find is really helpful for anyone with severe constipation. I find that psyllium husk is great, but if you take psyllium husk, you have to drink loads and loads of water with it, because it swells up, and that can cause a blockage in your throat if you don't drink a lot of water. So, but I find it really, really helpful. And if that doesn't work, magnesium citrate supplementation is really helpful. I find that's really good. Magnesium glycinate is also good too. I find that really relaxing. Of course, address any overgrowth of bacteria, as we've talked about already, and liver detoxification and unresolved trauma, as I already mentioned. So, how is your investigation board looking? So here, I can't see behind that because my Zoom is in the way. Go away. Right, overgrowth of bacteria. What's your mediator? Is it overgrowth of bacteria that's stopping you from going to the toilet? Or is it lack of minerals or dehydration that's causing you to continue struggling with passing a bowel movement? What's your root cause? If you write that into your root cause box, that will tell you exactly what you need to address in order to sort out your constipation. Okay, we're almost at the end. And test out guess. As I said before, doing testing can be really helpful, and I always believe that data is power, information is power. If you have done everything in your power to tried every single diet under the sun, tried everything that I've mentioned, and you're still not getting well, I would recommend doing a stool test to see what's happening. Okay, right. So I do realize we've gone over time. I want to go forward. I think my next slide is just literally questions, actually. So how did you find that? Let me know. Any questions at all?
No questions, but that was great. I literally feel like I've already learned so much. Like I can't wait to finish off this diagram and then to go through workbook 1 as well.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so pleased to hear that. So with that workbook, feel free to spend time in the next couple of days to fill that in. So I've got a page for symptom 1, symptom 2, and symptom 3. So if you've got multiple symptoms, I'd like you to do it for each of those. And then on the workbook section, you can fill in your answers there, because I can't seem to find a way to get you guys to upload a document to the app. So you might be able to do it on your dashboard, and I can see that, but I'll let you know in a moment. So yeah, take your time to work through that, because once we figure out your root causes and your mediators, those will tell us exactly what we need to do in order to help you with your gut health. Okay.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Anyone else, any questions? We did quite a lot of questions throughout, so I hope we covered a lot.
I have one question. You mentioned earlier that you now have like grass-fed butter, is it?
Yeah.
because I have vegan butter, but it's full of so many ingredients, is it
Mm.
the right time for me to try going back onto butter, like a grass-fed butter, or should I keep vegan, like the vegan one?
That's a really good question. So vegan butters would be like your Flora.
I
What other
think
brands have we
I think
got?
mine's called
Aussie Bussy.
It's not Violife, it's something else.
Yeah, it is Violife. That's the cheese, isn't it?
It's the cheese, yeah. Let me
Yeah.
see if I can just see it online.
Yeah, no worries. I think they're all more or less the same. The problem is with vegan butters, they're basically margarine. And when a few decades ago, they used to say that margarine was healthier than butter, and it could not be further from the truth because what happens when they made margarine is that they heated up the oils and processed the oils so much that it actually causes them to be very inflammatory. So fats, if you take industrial produced fats, um, your body doesn't really recognize them very well. So it can be really poorly absorbed. So when you recommend cooking oils, I always choose unrefined oils as first port of call because they're more recognizable to the body. So if it's butter, um, go for a grass-fed one because the cows would have eaten grass, not grains, and produced a healthier type of fat. If the cows have been eating grains and an unnatural diet, the fat profile that comes from that animal will be much more inflammatory and hard, like doesn't help your health in terms of an inflammatory aspect. So that's why I go for grass-fed butter. Or if you can't tolerate lactose in milk, then you can always go for ghee. So ghee is used in Indian cooking quite a lot. So it's basically clarified butter. And you can make it really easily by yourself. And all you have to do is boil a block of butter in a pan on a slow heat until it turns a bit golden on the bottom. And when it's gone golden, basically all the milk bits have turned into the golden bits. And all you have to do is strain it so that you get the liquid, and that's your clarified butter. And that's got no fat in it. It's just, I'm sorry, no sugar in it, no milk in it, just fat. So then that's a really nice clean fat for you.
Thank you. I'm going to
So
try
yeah.
the grass-fed butter, and if that doesn't work, I'll try the ghee.
Yeah. I find grass-fed butter really healthy actually because it's a good source of choline, and choline is really helpful to when you're supporting liver function, your mental health, also with focus and hormones as well, liver detoxification. So I find that the whole avoiding butter and eggs issue quite problematic for a lot of clients. So yeah, bit of misconception and myths in the industry there. But yeah, let me know how it goes.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions at all? Anyone else? Otherwise, I will close the session because we are so over time. Okay. And Chloe, I'll send everybody a link to the aloe vera supplement as well. And I'm also going to give you some prompts to continue checking on your symptoms. And next week, when we're tying up the whole course on related symptoms, once we've done that, we'll be booking in one-to-one sessions. So don't worry if you can't complete the whole workbook or complete your whole diagram, because we'll be doing it one-to-one, making sure that we've got proper strategy in place that works for you so that you can go away and get your gut healed over time. So yeah. Okay, good. So thank you so much for your time, everybody. I've really enjoyed teaching this section because it gets quite complicated, and but it doesn't have to be. And as long as you understand how to tackle it step by step and breaking down your triggers, breaking down your antecedents and root causes, it can be really straightforward when you know how. So hopefully we can all get your guts healed soon. So without further ado, I'm going to let you guys go, and I hope you enjoy your evening. Let me know if you have any questions, feedback. I'll be messaging everybody separately just to get some feedback. So I'll speak to you guys very soon. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Speak to you next
Thank
week.
you.
Bye.
Thanks, Laura. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.